Cardiff Pride bans J.K. Rowling's lesbian friends' confrontation with trans groups.
So we started by walking in front of the parade with our banners to be visible to the marchers, but also to the people in the crowd. We stopped the parade effectively for about 3 minutes. The police then came and asked us to move. We said we had the right to be here. And they then ask us to move at the back of the march. Now, from experience, we know that if we go in the march or at the back of the march, it's a very, very dangerous place for us. We have had countless experiences of lesbians who have been assaulted within LGBT marches. So we maintained that we wanted to stay at the front where we are the safest. The police came back and said, yeah, that's okay. You can do that. We marched for about 10 minutes. Then we got surrounded by both the police and trans activists who were becoming more and more hostile towards us and closer as well towards us. The police then said, you are obstructing the march. We are going to...
Well, TERF activist Angela Wild from the anti-transgenderism group Get the L Out and other lesbian activists confronted trans activists during the Cardiff Gay Pride Parade Saturday in Wales. The parade saw thousands of people from the community as well as allies participate. The anti-transgender group disrupted the event by going to the front of the parade with signs saying trans activism erases lesbians and lesbians don't like penises. The group in question included Ms. Wild and another one of JK's friends, Lianne Timmermand. They initially blocked the march for about 3 minutes, as she said, after which police asked the group to move to the back of the parade. Tension broke out once more as anti-trans lesbian activists and a transgender woman started to shout at each other in the middle of the road. It was right after that fight, police subsequently intervened and threatened to remove the anti-trans group from the area. Clips have emerged showing the two activists' verbal scuffle, as well as a police officer asking them to leave the march. The anti-trans activists said that they had a right to be there as it was Cardiff's Pride event, and they're lesbians, to which the police said that they were disrupting the event and causing fights. The interaction has caused a heated public discussion with celebrities such as former tennis player Martina Navratilova, writer Andrew Doyle, Welsh actor Scott McGlynn, and others speaking out about the event for both ideologies. While some in the Twitterverse spoke about the irony of asking the anti-trans activists to leave, others highlighted the point that it was their derailment of the main issue at hand, that being LGBTQ representation and cooperation, that led to their exclusion. The parade's theme this year was community, diversity, and working towards a common aim. The anti-trans group seems to have missed the memo on that, although the group includes well-informed individuals who are not new to the public sphere. J.K. Rowling, author of the Harry Potter books, shared her support by retweeting a post from Ms. Wild's friend about her situation. A spokesperson for the South Wales Police said, quote, "We worked closely with the local authorities and Pride so that the event would go on without a hitch. Police provided guidance and offered the protest group advice on how to facilitate a lawful protest of their own," end quote. This isn't the first time J.K. has been named alongside anti-trans sentiments, as she has previously lent her support to Ms. Wild after she became embroiled in a free speech controversy.
Because we are marching in a march.
At the moment...
No, I just want to make sure...
Yeah, you know now. Let me just explain to you, and it'll give you some understanding. Yeah. So at the moment, your march, this group of people, is causing confrontation between different groups of people.
Lesbians.
Okay?
We're lesbians. It's gay pride.
Whatever you are at the moment is causing confrontation.
I did not want to
safely march yourself.
We don't want to do that. We want to be part of
your choice. So what I'm telling you is to make sure it's safe. We are going to remove you from the road, and I want you to do that of your own accord.
I want to make sure I understand that you are removing lesbians from like LGBT march.
Yes, that is what's happening.
Okay, why?
For safety. For your safety, for other people's safety. That's why
you should be able to protect lesbians.
So,
you should be able to protect lesbians.
We can have further conversations about the reasons why at the side of the road, because otherwise you are going to be removed from the...
What a joy these people must be at prides and picnics. Okay, their slogan, trans activism erases lesbians, and lesbians don't like penises. What? You are literally hurting yourself when you do this. Never mind the fact that get the L out sounds like an anti-lesbian group.
That's true.
Right?
It's not a good catchphrase.
Yeah, you're absolutely counterproductive to what we want to do as a community. And these people are selfish. Their American counterparts are selfish. These people are not transphobic, because phobic means you are afraid of something. These people are educated enough. There is no phobia. They are just hateful. They are mean, and I can only assume this is where the log cabin Republicans go to find their interns.
So the sad part about this is that Pride is supposed to be a celebration of us, all of us, and our diversity. And if you want to stand up and celebrate your diversity by putting someone else down, then no, you don't deserve it. I'm sorry.
Do you think the point that you just made, do you think that the push of the acronym together of the 5 and maybe more letters, that one of the things that we're finding in the stress test of these times is that pushing the acronym together, everyone didn't come along with it, that they don't accept it. There are lots of lesbians that do not accept the LGBTQ community. There may be lots of Gs of gay men that do not accept the lesbian community. Do you think that we've artificially pushed it together and we're starting to watch the ramifications of that stress test?
Well, don't forget, lesbian separatists is a thing, going back to the 60s, 70s. So there was never gay male separatist. There was never bi separatism. Lesbian separatism is a thing that exists. I mean, and we think about the controversy at the Michigan Women's Music Festival that completely destroyed that many-year festival because they were anti-trans. So this is an issue, and I can understand that there's a possibility that they're concerned about lesbian erasure. We're all concerned. The entire community is concerned about being erased. So each of us, again, I think is in our corner. And there's all these letters, and at some point the letters need to come together, because if not, we will all be erased.
You know, erasing the T doesn't...
To that point specifically, one of the banners that we showed in tonight's story that was carried in the Cardiff parade, lesbian is not queer. But what's the point of doing that, of saying that?
This is not a good look at all.
No.
It's as if we forget our queer history. If it had not been for Black and brown trans women who threw that brick and organized the first Pride, we would not have the rights that we have today, or even have the opportunity to have Pride. Like, it's just sickening that how we treat our trans community as if they are like a pariah of the LGBTQ community, when really they are pioneers of the movement, and they deserve that respect, and we should not be disrespected. If anything, we need to bow down to them and thank them for sacrificing their bodies and their lives for the rights that we have today.
What is it? Does anybody have understanding of if it's not a phobia, which is what you have suggested? What is it that they're repelling against?
I think it's erasure. I think that they're afraid of. Even though they're now, it used to be GLBT, and then we switched the letters around, and they're at the front. So they're still visible, they're still a presence, but I think that they're concerned about erasure. But even talking about the Stonewall, you talked about the riots, during those raids, one of the issues was in the old days when there were the old school butches who were dressed as men, and there was that concept of, well, you needed to have at least one piece of clothing, right, in the bar, or else you'd be arrested if you weren't wearing something of your gender in the bar. So I love my lesbian sisters, and I value them, and we can't erase them in this conversation either.
Right.
I'm not saying that they should be anti-trans and violently anti-trans, but we can't erase them. We cannot erase them either.
I think a lot of it, and no offense, Dr. Ty Hauser, I wish Dr. Julio Capo Jr. was here tonight.
Yes, he would be a good one to have
He
tonight.
has studied this so much, but from what I understand and from what I've read...
Dr. Faye, what?
And Dr. Faye, what?
Dr. What?
But no, I think that a lot of the lesbian liberation movement is intertwined with the female liberation movement, both of which gained a lot of steam in the 1960s. And there was a lot of militants in it. And I think that it's sort of so intertwined that there's still some anger there, and rightly so. And I'm not going to say here, and don't be angry. What I'm going to say is don't exclude people.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to point out that disturbing week for me. This story is incredibly important for our community, incredibly important. Over this last weekend, let's provide two contrasts of old world and new world. Cardiff's in old world, we're in new world in historical perspective. Over the weekend in California, straight pride went on. And we reported last night that there was a violent outbreak at straight pride between Proud Boys and LGBTQ protesters, and about 30 people organizing straight pride, and then hundreds that were counter protesters. The significant makeup of the LGBTQ protesters were trans protesters, and the clash that took place, violence, and police involvement over the weekend. Simultaneously, on the exact same day, across the pond in Cardiff, this conflict is going on between at a pride parade and pride celebration to bring community together between the lesbian community and the trans community.
And they're segmenting there, right?
And segmenting there. And I think it is very interesting that both are basically going on simultaneously. Radical outside of our community against our community, and inside our community, radical points of view inside our community, both to the same conclusion. I think that's very important.
And they're mixing gender and sexual orientation together, it seems like, in this story, because the gender is that they're female, that they're a woman as well, not the fact that they're female because of how they identify, but they're also lesbian, and that include they're part of that as well.
I think the issue that makes this story incredibly important for us is first, the number one attack that we have experienced in these last years, it's growing and it's growing. The number one attack is, let's face it, is radical GOP, evangelicals, and Governor Abbott's and Governor DeSantis's and all of that you would put in that bucket, which are not the radical GOPs, but they have seized on the political movement. That is our number one adversary in the United States. In community. And straight pride in California over the weekend is a representation of that bucket that is saying we're picking this up for parental rights and we're protecting our children, and all of the countless lies that are being told. That is our number one adversary. But our number two adversary is in our own community. And we are beginning to, that's why I ask you this question about the stress test. Our LGBTQ plus community may not be as sound in community as we once thought it is. Because as we're celebrating victory after victory, including gay marriage, after victory, now we're finding defeats. And DeSantis is using that scalpel in so many different ways, and we're beginning to turn on ourselves.
And now is not the time to fragment. Now is the time to come together.
It's like civil rights or women's rights in the 70s. We're at a pivotal moment that if we do not stand as community, we have no chance. And it's interesting to me that we're facing this attack outside of our community, and we're facing this attack inside our community. We must pay attention to this story.
Yeah.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.